Delicate.
Boring.
Emotive.
Slow.
Stimulating.
Calming. I'm falling asleep.
A little bit boring.
It's boring. It's
Amazing.
I have no idea.
I think I'd get into it if I wanted to.
I wish my mum stopped listening to it in the car. Drive fast music.
I think there's a difficulty with the word classical music. One always hears things about the aging audience in classical music. I think it's probably less true here than it is in some places. Certainly for orchestral music, it's probably true that it is an older audience. So we've been trying to broaden our audience out in terms of classical music, looking very much at how you market things so that you do make your product attractive to a younger audience. But there's no doubt that our core audience, those people that are sort of friends of the National Concert Hall, are, shall we say, more mature. I'm not a believer in this adage that a classical music's audience is dying out, so therefore it's a dying out form. I don't think that at all. I think there is a real appetite for it, in fact. I think we need to be very savvy on how we market it and how we present it. This is a very nice venue for people to come to, but it perhaps to some people feels rather safe and rather sober, if you know what I mean. It mightn't be regarded as particularly cool or hip. We regard ourselves as the premier music venue in Ireland. So obviously we are the home of the RT National Symphony Orchestra. Classical music by its nature doesn't change that much. I think what you need to do at the moment is be very mindful as to what audiences like and don't like. They vote very much with their feet. I don't think there's been a conscious decision to change the type of programming. I mean, we still do our international concert season, which is made up of visiting orchestras, visiting star soloists. We still have the National Symphony Orchestra, the Concert Orchestra, etc. So it's more perhaps changes in how we market it and the target audience rather than actually changing the product.
I certainly think that as soon as children are exposed to classical music, it feeds their soul and suddenly something inside comes alive. We decided to set up a project in the school and engage children from 3 to 12 free of charge, so that they would have equal experience, because we so often heard the story of children standing outside rooms hearing others play and presumed they'd have to pay. In the project they learned the violin, viola, cello and double bass. Paul, the project has a huge role in promoting classical music because children from the age of 3 to 12 upwards experience actually being involved in playing classical music, given that it's at its early stages, but they get it from day one. When we asked the children if they would like to learn the violin, there were very few thought they'd like to learn. And when we then gave opportunity to every child, they went as a class. They absolutely were fascinated by it. We also won a number of awards. We do a lot of fundraising, and we won the Lyric FM, and that got us instruments.
Nolan's Classic Drive on 96 to 99 RTE Lyric FM.
Yes, indeed, a very good afternoon and welcome to Classic Drive. Liz Nolan with you until 7 here on RTE Lyric FM. What do we have? As ever, the very finest masterworks plus all the latest. Well, basically, Lyric brings classical music into people's daily lives. It makes it more accessible. It takes away the mystique. And I think the personalities of the presenters on Lyric do play a role in that as well. It's not just some anonymous voice saying, this is the music of law. You know, we each have our own distinctive style. Every programme is very different, and I think that that plays a lot into Lyric's method of making music accessible and taking away all the connotations of snobbery, of mystique associated with classical music. Have you ever heard The Ride of the Valkyries and not done that quote from Apocalypse Now? You know, I do it all the time on air. I think the relegation of classical music to some sacred little zone is rapidly breaking down. I think stations like Lyric would help to demystify that in many ways. Don't kind of say, now, this is by Mozart, don't be scared. That's rubbish. I think there's an openness among younger listeners. Also, they're rather attracted to, well, I suppose the larger lifestyle connotations that classical music provides. Say, you know, music for relaxation, music for vigour, music can be packaged in so many ways. The Classic FM model in the UK, I think, is very interesting in that way. They've taken away the names of composers or the names of pieces. They've just kind of said, this will make you feel this way and that way. The role of advertising in general, the placement of classical music in films, all of these have played their part in making music more relevant to the younger generation. And people, sometimes they just find it really hip. I think classical music is a very sexy, high-end product. It certainly sends out a message about the kind of person you are. It means that you listen a little bit outside the box. It means that you're open. It means that you have a wider cultural reference. So I think that's a sexy thing for listeners to buy into. Sort of part of their identity is listening to Lyric, is listening to classical music. So apart from the obvious marketing appeal that would convey, I think classical music, particularly in recessionary Ireland at the moment, frankly, I see it as being people's one option. Not to hear broadcasters yabbering on, very succinctly and wonderfully, I'm sure, on other channels. Not to hear constant thuds of pop music. Where actually can you have that lacuna, that zone of an andante followed by an allegro, followed by a time to breathe? I think it's represents something of a haven at the moment in Irish broadcasting. In terms of its future, I'm sure it will transform again as the media industry transforms, but I do think it does provide a very significant zone in people's life which cannot be replicated by any other form that I can see in terms of music or speech.
Well, the project was set up by Joanna Crooks and Sister Bernadette, and the two of them together have, well, I suppose, changed people's lives. Because for me, I have 5 children and 4 of them are playing music, and they support them. They put them through grades, they put them for Dublin Youth Orchestra, and they never ask for anything but time. Now, since I started playing, it's actually opened up a different view to the way I would have music. I would download music now, Mozart and Beethoven, and it's opened up like a different culture. But some of the pieces, like, it nearly bring you to tears if you lay back and sit and listen to them. Yeah, when you think it's too late to learn something, I think it's like a challenge. And then when you progress, then you kind of get your self-belief, then, oh my God, it wasn't too late. And then you're playing these pieces in music that you never could have dreamt of. And then, like, with an instrument like the violin, it can be quite difficult. So when you master, I'll say, one of the songs, I'm super proud. Super proud. When we practice and we get ready, they don't have any nerves. They don't mind standing up. You know, we take the instruments home, not a problem to them. Don't mind getting up on stage. And I'd have to say then it's down to Sister Bernadette, because that's exactly, you know, teaching them self-belief.
I think that it's incredibly good for happiness. You see, music is beyond words. Music is beyond words. It's kind of the feelings that you can't express in words, or are difficult to express in words. How much language does one need to be able to express music? I mean, the emotional reaction of playing a piece. I mean, I've played music all my life, and yesterday playing in Christchurch with the children, which I haven't done before, was one of the best gigs of my life. Some people could be very musical, very good ear and rhythm and feel it a lot. Some people could have lesser ability, but it should be introduced to everyone because people naturally sing and whistle. You know, singing is the first ability that people have, and everyone teaches children nursery rhymes, and it's such a big thing, especially now that there are all these little TV programs and songs and that, and children adore them. It's playtime, it's happy time, you know. I remember years ago a Bach cantata, a choral in a Bach cantata. I remember thinking, that's what you need to hear in the morning to get you up and be happy. You know, the chorus is the joyfulness of that. Then in my life in the orchestra, I suppose, Rachmaninoff, those piano concertos and symphonies, that was a big thing. And then recently you hear a Beethoven symphony and you just say, wow! You know, because the rhythm's so strong, it hits you immediately. It's easy to follow. And, you know, but then it depends on your mood.
As the cliche goes, people know what they like and like what they know. So, you know, the obvious great composers will always do well. If you stray from that, then you are challenging people. And to a certain extent as well, the really famous work by the great composers. You know, our nationalism was expressed through the spoken word rather than through music. So we've never had quite that connectivity between classical music and the populace.
There's one song that I like, it's called Morning.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who it's by though.
It would have to come into fashion though if it was on everything. People would have to start listening to it though, wouldn't have much of a choice.
Me and my dad listen to it every now and again.
You don't hear classical music in the charts and stuff?
All music is art.
I listen to more like Rihanna and that. If she came out with something, yeah, I'd listen to it, but I've no interest in the guy with the beard, like, really.